Okay, so welcome everyone. I'm Nicole Lako, your happy couple after baby coach. And I have a wonderful guest here today, Allie Miller. She's a friend and colleague, and she's going to talk with us today about nonviolent communication, with couples. And of course, this applies to all couples, and especially those of us who are on the journey of parenthood. So welcome, Allie. Please tell us a little bit about you.
Thank you. Hi, Nicole. Hi, everybody. It's great to be here. So yeah, Nicole and I met in grad school. And so I'm a therapist, and I'm also a couples communication coach. And the bulk of my communication coaching is based in nonviolent communication, which is the work of Marshall Rosenberg, which focuses on communicating from the heart and working through conflicts while staying connected with each other. So yeah, I have a coaching practice over Zoom, and I have my therapy practice with clients in California.
Wonderful. So, okay, so can you share with us just a couple of basics, just, kind of skimming the surface a little bit of what nonviolent communication is, and maybe how it's also helpful and effective?
Sure. So it's, nonviolent communication, also sometimes referred to as compassionate communication or connected communication. I've been calling it heart-centered communication. It's a practice that is used for working through conflicts. It's a practice that's also used for deepening intimacy in relationships. It's basically a tool you can pick up if you want to get more connected with somebody. And there are three main skills. The skill of tuning into yourself and knowing what's going on inside you, like what are you feeling, what's important to you. And this is called self-empathy. And there's the skill of listening. So listening to the other person, what's important to them, what are they feeling, and this is the skill of empathy. And then there's the skill of expressing ourselves in a way that increases the likelihood that we're actually going to be heard. Mm-hmm. And this is the skill of self-expression. And so a lot of times when we are triggered or upset or distressed or overwhelmed, our default is to go to blaming, judging, criticizing, demanding, right? And this tends to create disconnection. So at the time when we most are needing connection, when we're most needing to be heard, most of us tend towards language that is alienating and creates this disconnect. So NVC is like, hey, when you're in distress, instead of blaming yourself or the other person, try this out. Try to say what you're observing. Try to say what you're feeling, what you're needing. Try to make a request. So these are the 4 steps: observation, feeling, need, request. Okay. So what the training is we train in like, okay, so how to make an observation as opposed to an evaluation. We're so used to saying like things like, well, you were being a jerk. Like, it's just a fact, you're being a jerk. And it's like, that's more an interpretation. So we learn how to be real, like neutrally observant, so that we don't alienate the person we're trying to communicate with before we've even, shared anything of substance.
Right. And then you're making them defensive right away.
Right. And that's the whole idea. It's like people might still get defensive, but this is going to decrease the likelihood that they're going to get defensive. And the reason we want people not to get defensive is so that they can actually hear us. Like, this was a real aha moment for me in this training when I was like, when a teacher was like, you're speaking most likely because you want to be heard. So maybe speak in a way that increases the likelihood that you'll be heard.
Right.
Instead, most of us speak when we're upset or angry, it's like the person just can't hear us. And it's not their fault that they can't hear us. It's very understandable why someone isn't going to be able to hear us if we're attacking them.
Right.
So this training helps us get heard, and it helps us listen. This is also really cool. It helps us listen to our partners, even when they are doing the blaming or attacking, because we're all going to do it. Like it's just, no matter how much NVC training you have, sometimes you're going to blame and judge and criticize. Hopefully it goes down as you get this training. But like, if you're really steeped in this and you're intending to use NVC, even if somebody's like, you're a jerk, you suck, I hate you, you can listen for, okay, they have some strong feelings, they have some unmet needs. Can I hear through the judgment to their heart? Can I listen to what is underneath the judgment, to their vulnerable feelings and their needs? And the thing about needs is that they're universal. So any need my partner has, I also have. So like needs for connection, affection, belonging, to matter, purpose, fun, self-expression, freedom, like that, all the people share these needs. So that's kind of the gist. There are 3 key principles I just want to share. One is that going along with how we all have the same needs, is that the idea that what we're going for is that everybody's needs matter. So in a couple, if you're in conflict, what we're aiming for with the conflict resolution is like, how can we come up with strategies that really honor that both of our needs matter? So it's not like a win-lose, and it's not a lose-lose. Sometimes with compromise, it can end up feeling like lose-lose. It's more like win-win. It's like, okay, your needs matter, my needs matter. How can we find solutions that actually attend to all these needs? That's one. The second principle that I love is that our feelings are messengers to our needs. So no feeling is bad. No feeling is wrong. No feeling is even a problem. They're all just messengers letting us know I have needs. So if I'm feeling happy, it's a signal that I have some met needs. And if I'm feeling angry or jealous or disappointed or hurt, it's a signal that I have some unmet needs.
Right.
So this helps us embrace all the feelings and use them as clues to what we're needing.
I like that, because
And
it's
then the
just
third principle that I love is that everything anybody says or does is an attempt to meet one or more of these universal human needs. So every action I take is an attempt to meet needs. Every action you take, Nicole, is an attempt to meet needs. Every action our partners take, even if we hate what they're doing, is an attempt to meet needs. So this starts to open the doors of compassion, like, oh, you're doing that shitty, horrible thing that I can't stand to meet needs. Like, what needs might you be trying to meet? And then I get curious about that.
Right. Let me think about that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So it moves us out of judgment and into compassion, that principle. Yeah.
I love that. I mean, I was going to say with the second principle, that, we need to accept our feelings and the feelings of our partner, because they are messengers. I love that idea that our feelings are messengers. And we have to accept that so that we can, connect.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's great. So when we think about then with, especially with new parents or even toddlers who don't sleep well at night. So when we're feeling sleep deprived, because, I certainly know that disrupted sleep is quite real and it's quite difficult to, go through your day with and go through life when you're really not getting adequate sleep. So, my patience level is down, right? I might be more reactive in some way. So what are, 1 or 2 things that might be helpful for couples to remember, particularly related to NVC, that can kind of help with that, when we're kind of going through those hard phases?
Yeah. Yeah. Such an important question, because sleep deprivation is so real and so hard.
I know.
So hard. We both might need some empathy about that. But so I've been thinking about this question, and I think the number one word I want to invite couples into if they're dealing with sleep deprivation is mercy. Like,
Mhm.
because if both of you are sleep deprived, then both of you are, it's just, you can't function as well when you're sleep deprived. You're going to be more likely, like you said, to be impatient and testy and quick to react. And because it's, I mean, such a core need. Speaking of needs, like sleep is such a basic need. So both, if both people in the couple are not having this most basic need met, life is harder and we need more compassion, both for, if it's a couple, right? You want each person in that couple to have compassion for themselves and for each other, that this most basic need isn't met. So it's like, can we give ourselves and each other a little grace and
Yeah.
mercy, because we're just not at our best. So that's the one word I would say is mercy.
Mhm.
And to, in that spirit, to be as forgiving as possible of yourself and each other. And that means, especially if you're interested in nonviolent communication, or if you're like starting to learn it, it's like giving yourself grace for like, this is a hard time to learn any new skill, right? And so you might be blaming yourself, you might be blaming your partner. It's like, that's understandable. So um sometimes when people learn these skills, they then use it as a way to judge themselves for like, oh, I'm being violent. Oh, I'm being reactive. Oh, I'm being too harsh. I'm not being a kind person. And it's like, no,
Mhm.
you're being reactive and you're not, you're not using these skills because they're hard and you're sleep deprived. So it's just as much self-compassion and compassion for each other as possible. That's what I would emphasize.
Right. Yeah, I've definitely noticed over the years that when I'm tired, that's when, a little argument or, something's gonna happen because I'm
Yeah.
tired, and I notice it with my children too, but
Yeah. Yeah. It's just real. It's just,
Mhm.
we're human. We're not robots. Right. And
Right.
sleep where it's just a limitation. The good thing is it shifts, right?
Yes.
We get sleep eventually, right?
We do. We do. Although I have to say 2 weeks ago, my 7-year-old and my 2-year-old had me up at 4 different times in one night. So it was a little rough that next day, but
Yeah.
yes, it gets back and it's consistent, and then you just have these occasional
Yeah.
evenings.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Okay, mercy. I love that. Mercy. Okay, so finally, when we have big and high conflict with our partners, then there's definitely more, emotion and intensity involved. How do you recommend couples take a good break, make it successful so they can come back
Yeah.
and disagree more fairly and more productively?
Yeah. Right. Fairly and productively. Yeah. I mean, because disagreement is we got to expect it, right? It's not like there's a problem if there's disagreement. It's like two humans, living interdependently. There's going to be disagreement, and this practice actually helps you embrace that disagreement, because it's like, okay, if we're disagreeing or we're arguing, it's because we have some unmet needs. Can we get curious about those unmet needs? So the
Mhm.
name of the game here is curiosity, and it's hard to be curious if you are really activated or triggered or upset, right?
Mhm.
So, one of the main skills I like to teach couples is the skill of taking a break while maintaining connection. So, it's not the
Okay.
kind of break from the conversation where it's like, I can't stand you, I'm leaving the room, or even worse, just leaving the room and slamming the door. It's not that kind of break. It's the
Right.
kind of break where you're using words, you're communicating to say, like, okay, neither of us can hear each other right now. So why don't we take a break, or even more, owning it? Like, I'm going to take a break so that I can calm myself down so that I can come back to the conversation and hear you.
Mhm.
And then I like what the Gottmans recommend, which is don't take a break for longer than 20 minutes, because that can start to erode the connection. But if you're not ready in 20 minutes to actually listen, then
Yep.
just check in 20 minutes. And it can be just a check in. Are we ready to listen to each other? Because the thing is, if nobody's able to listen, then nobody's going to get heard. So there's no point in talking,
Right.
right? Unless you're you get some needs met from fighting, which is fine. I've had relationships where I get some needs met by fighting. Right? Some couples experience, it can be exciting and energizing and connecting. So if you are wanting to fight, then do it. But if you're not wanting to fight, if no one can listen, then take a break. During that break, do something that soothes your nervous system so that you can get more grounded, get more calm. In NVC, we have the practice of self-empathy, like I mentioned earlier, where it's connecting with your own feelings and your needs. So one thing I'll do is I'll put my hand on my heart, I'll take some breaths, and I'll just say, what am I feeling? And we have these feelings lists that I give out where it helps you really connect with like the core emotions, not feelings like I'm feeling like he's a jerk, but feeling like, oh, I'm feeling sad. I'm feeling disheartened. I'm feeling discouraged. And then what am I needing? And this is the difference between needs and strategies. The strategy would be like, oh, I'm needing her to pick up after herself, right? That's not a need. What would picking up after herself give me that's important to me? Oh, I'm needing some consideration. I'm needing some support, right? These universal qualities that help make our lives better. Right. So self-empathy is what am I feeling? Connecting with that, what am I needing? And that helps regulate the nervous system, just tuning into what you're experiencing on that level, as opposed to going with the running commentary in our minds about what's wrong with ourselves or our partners.
Yeah. I was just going to say, it's not an opportunity to, rethink your argument and what you're going to say next.
Right. Right. Exactly. That's such a good point, because that's how a lot of us might do it. Right. Yeah. It's not about winning the argument. That's a different game, right? If you want to play win the argument, then that would be a different coach. But the coaching I do is about like how to stay connected both to yourself and to your partner through these challenging times. And one of my biggest pieces of advice is stop trying to win the argument. And instead connect with your feelings and needs and get curious about your partner's feelings and needs. Because anything anyone's ever doing is an attempt to meet these needs. So it's like, then let's find out what those needs are and see how we can actually meet them in a way that works for both of us.
Right. Yeah, I did a video a couple of weeks ago, just trying to remind couples, like, your partner is actually your teammate. Like, they are on your side.
Yeah. Right. That's what it is. It's like, and NVC helps us get there, because it's hard to get there sometimes because we're separate people too. It's like we're teammates, but we're separate people. So it's hard to sometimes get on the same side. So NVC helps us get there. It's like, okay, you have feelings and needs. I have feelings and needs. Let's get those on the table. Let's look at those feelings and needs together while we sit over here. It's like, I'm over here with my partner. Our feelings and needs are over here. Let's look together at the needs. How can we meet them together as a team?
Right.
Yeah.
So really holding space for what everyone's feeling and thinking or wanting, the needs. Yeah.
Right.
That's great. I love this. I think this is so helpful. And I'm so glad that you took some time to just help explain this and give couples an idea of what nonviolent communication is and how it can be useful for them. Can you share where people can find you?
Sure. Yeah. My website is AliMillerCoaching.com. Ali's ALI. And I'm on Instagram. I post a lot of communication and conflict resolution tips on Instagram. So I'm at Ali Miller Coaching, and I'm there on Facebook too. And I do workshops. I do private and group workshops on this for couples. And then I work privately with couples too over Zoom.
Great. So go find Ali, everyone, please. And just to remind you, I'm at Happy Couple After Baby. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram as well. I have a free checklist at happycoupleafterbaby.com. And you have one too, right?
Yeah, I have it's a conflict transformation guide for couples. It's free. It's at AliMillerCoaching.com. It's called The 4 Magic Questions That Turn Any Argument into a Loving Conversation.
Oh, well, there you go. We all need that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you again. And thank you everyone for watching and participating. If you have any questions or any comments, please leave them in the comments below. And we can see if we can, answer them somehow for you. And we'll see you next time. Thanks.
Thanks, Nicole. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.